Ladies and gentlemen, I've been a father now for just over 5 weeks, and can I just say it is by far the most harrowing, terrifying, but greatest thing that I have ever done. It's just absolutely fantastic. But I just realised that I've been doing it all wrong these past few weeks. I've actually been doing it incorrectly. You see, I've been spending all of this time trying to help my son Atticus develop into a young man, develop into a great young person to take on the world and be the best version of himself. But here's the thing. In the modern world, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to confuse your children with your own ridiculous politics. You're supposed to take that malleable mind and crush it with absolute bullshit that you learn about on memes on Instagram. And a great way to do that, a very popular way to do that, is to teach your children that they're not boys or girls, they are whatever they want to be. They get to choose their gender, and boys and girls don't exist. Or they do exist, but only if you choose them to exist. Or they don't exist at all. Who knows? And in this video, we're going to dive deep into the world of THEYBIES, which is just hilarious and was recently shown on 60 Minutes here in Australia, and it's got a lot of attention since then. But before we do, 2 quick plugs. Number 1, check out our Patreon for $2 a month. You get access to these videos 3 days before anybody else. They are uncensored, things that we can't talk about on YouTube. Get onto those videos, and they don't have any ads like these. Oh my God, how boring. The second ad is this. This beautiful t-shirt with my wife and I's podcast, The Mum and Dad Show, is now 50% off. Go and check it out at themumanddadshow.com.
It's not at all unusual. In fact, it's often quite lovely when new parents coo that their baby is the cutest and cleverest one ever born. But are little kids' brains big enough to make the biggest decision?
Yes, and that's why I'm pro 3-month-olds choosing whether or not they need hormone replacement therapy. In fact, I think every 3-month-old should have a double mastectomy straight off the bat. They don't know whether or not they want nipples. Cut them off too. It's not only logical, it's necessary. And if you disagree, you're a bigot. Poor Addie's crying upstairs. Poor little man. He's overtired. That's the problem. It doesn't help that I'm shouting at a camera. His mother's up there, by the way. He's not up there by himself. Just thought I'd point that out.
Like whether they're a boy or a girl. Well, yes, according to a growing group of mums and dads who are embracing what's known as gender creative parenting.
Gender creative parenting. I haven't heard of that sort of terminology to describe it, but it's also known as this. Confusing your children to the point that they're extremely bullied by the time they get to primary school and they become teenagers that are depressed, and you ruin their entire lives just because you think you're fucking woke. Fuck you to the moon. Now that may all sound a bit over the top, and maybe it is, but these kids really can be damaged by this type of confusion at a young age.
They're deliberately keeping the sex of their children top secret because they say the kids themselves should be free to decide who they are. And that means they're being raised not as baby boys or baby girls, but as THEYBIES.
Fuck me sideways. Okay, so this is a story aired on 60 Minutes here in Australia. And even just the advertisement for that particular story on that episode of 60 Minutes had 3 million views on Twitter, with some massive Twitter accounts weighing in on the subject as well. And people all seem to agree that this kind of parenting is ridiculous, is terrible, is harmful. It seemed like every single person who watched that clip, that trailer, if you will, to the story, was all of the same opinion, that this is fucking wrong. This is a bad way to treat children. But you wouldn't believe that if you listened to how the media and how social media talks about these kind of decisions. For some reason, they are applauded. And that is just, it's reprehensible. That's what it is. It's dangerous to children. Not all children are going to be fucked up by it, but some will, and it's completely unnecessary. Even if it doesn't harm your kids, wouldn't it just be better if you let kids be kids? That's what this all boils down to. Let kids be kids. Let them run outside and scrape their knee and do dumb things and put things up their nose. But don't confuse them to the point where they don't understand if they're a boy or a girl. That is so unnecessary. It doesn't help with anything.
Boy things, girl things, touchdowns or tutus. We're all split into two different teams from very early on.
The reason? Because male and females are very, very different, both psychologically and physiologically. We are just very, very different. The structure of our bodies are completely different. Bone density, I've said it a million times. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of differences that apparently we're just supposed to completely forget. All right, my favorite is this. Men have more blood than women. More blood. So you can choose your gender all day, mate, but one gender's got more blood than the other, all right? Take from that what you will. It is just a fact that regardless of where you are in the world, boys like certain things and girls like certain things. Now, some boys like things that girls like, and some girls like things that boys like, and that is fine, but it is wired into our DNA, regardless of culture, that we enjoy certain kinds of things. The reason that little girls all over the world like dolls and boys like trucks, right? There is a reason, and it's not cultural. It just so happens that we as human beings enjoy different things based on our sex.
But Isaac, that makes the young boys who like playing with girl things feel different.
Okay, then feel different. Who gives a shit? Sometimes we do things that are different. That's fine. What are we supposed to do? Freak everybody else out just because some people are a little different? No. No, let kids be kids. And if the kids are different, then let them be different too.
Meet Bertie.
I'll be the first to say, poor fucking Bertie.
Bertie likes the colour purple, fire engines, and Elsa from Frozen.
Hang on, she likes fire engines and Elsa? Get that little bitch some puberty blockers now. She's a they, them. Get her a pride flag, right? Get it tattooed on her forehead. Make her an Instagram and put her pronouns in it immediately. Or just let her do whatever she wants to do. Honestly, if people just said, hey, you're a boy, get on with your life, or you're a girl, get on with your life, then everything would be so much easier, right? They wouldn't have to stress about this shit that doesn't matter. If in a very rare case, your child does have gender dysphoria, then deal with that then. Don't just deal with everyone when they don't have it. That's like giving everyone chemo just in case they have cancer. And am I comparing gender dysphoria to cancer? No, but I could have. But I didn't. I'm a nice guy. Here's a very unpopular opinion, although it does sort of reside in fact. Over the past 30 years, there has been a massive uptick in the amount of people suffering from gender dysphoria. Now, you may say that that's because it's much more welcomed now, isn't it? Well, I'd argue with that and say it's just very popular. It would be absolutely remarkable if this many people started to suffer from any other type of, I'm not going to say mental illness, but if it's in your head, right? And I've got anxiety problems, right? I'm mentally ill. I'll put my hand up, right? But people, you can't say that gender dysphoria is a mental illness, although it definitely is. I know. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means that that's what it's affecting, right? The brain, mental, whatever. Chill the fuck out. Not a mental illness. You're not ill at all. You're who you want to be. Fuck yeah. Anyway, have a look at this graph. It really illustrates the increase in the amount of people suffering from this particular condition that's not a mental illness. This graph right here is the female to male graph. You can see it dramatically increasing, and I anticipate that it will continue to do so for at least the next decade and a half. But here's something crazy. The graphs are always like this, right? But the only one that's not increasing is the one where we compare ages in which people started suffering from gender dysphoria. For the longest time, it was always older dudes in their 40s or so. But now, if you have a look here, the only place where the numbers are going down are ages. Over the past 30 years or 25 years in this graph, the ages have dropped dramatically, representing when these people started having hormone therapy. So what does that tell you? It tells you that it's more popular amongst young people. And why is it more popular amongst young people? Because parents are doing insane shit like freaking children out and saying to them, you're not a boy or a girl, you're a they-bie. This is what happens.
Finish this sentence for me. Bertie is a child. Bertie's a child.
A gorgeous little kid.
That's not the question we're asking though, is it, mum and dad? Or should I say caregiver 1 and caregiver 2? You could dismiss that question in many ways. Bertie is cold. Bertie is hungry. But that's not what we're asking. The question we are asking has 2 possible answers, boy or a girl. That is it.
Amy and Danny are parents to 9-year-old Evie, a girl, and 3.5-year-old Bertie. We don't know if Bertie is a he or a she.
She's a girl.
Or anything else for that matter. Bertie is a they-bie.
I feel so fucking bad for Bertie. I really do. Hopefully she just forgets all this shit as she gets older. But fuck, mum and dad, this is so unnecessary. Why don't you teach her just about being a kind, happy person rather than making these ridiculous, these like mental gymnastics that she has to somehow navigate through in this earliest portion of her life. All it does is confuse her. And that will follow through for the rest of her existence on Earth. It's not helpful. Hopefully as she gets older though, she will just forget all of this. Although mum and dad did decide to televise it, so maybe not.
In a pink and blue world, Bertie has access to all the colours of the rainbow. The full spectrum of clothes, toys and activities.
Great, let her be a kid. But why do you have to make her different? Why do you have to make her a target? By differing with 1,000,000+ years of human evolution and to say that she's not a boy or a girl? Why make her different? Why make her stand out like that?
In our family home, we make sure that we're not reinforcing gender pronouns or gender terms. We just let Bertie be who Bertie is at the moment.
Again, do that, but don't lie to her.
Bertie's happy enough being Bertie, and we support them to be who they are.
Them to be who they are. There isn't multiple of them. There's no need for Bertie plurals, all right?
It might sound extreme, but it's happening all around the world.
We're not trying to eliminate gender. We're actually trying to show how limitless gender can be, right? And just really helping kids find their own path to it.
Okay, so this woman is some guru in the space. What a guru to be. And it won't surprise you that she's from Portland in America, which is like the liberal capital, the woke capital of the United States. It's a shit area. Oregon is just home to dense cunts. Also, this lady is a social scientist, which is like saying you're a doctor when you're a chiropractor. You're not, all right? I'm not coming to your fucking practice 4 times a fucking week so you can nearly decapitate me. Fuck off. I don't care if you're gonna cure my autism by cracking my fingers. Fuck off. A social scientist is more like a journalist. That's basically all they do. Also, gender is not limitless, okay? How can it be limitless? That's ridiculous, okay? Yeah, it's ridiculous. Whatever this person wants to be in their life and the person they want to be, that can be limitless. Gender, no. You have 2 choices. Make one.
You can't tell what your gender is by looking at your body. Gender is something you feel on the inside.
2 + 2 isn't 4, kid. It's 5. And you must agree with that or you're a horrible person.
Kyle has become the poster person for this unconventional parenting style, writing a best-selling book about her own experience.
Do you recall what I said about not being an actual scientist and just being a journalist? That right there.
So you believe that if you're born with a penis, doesn't necessarily make you a boy?
Right. Because so a lot of people who are born with penises identify as a boy.
Fuck me dead. Actually watching these people and listening to them talk is physically painful for me. If the synapses in my brain were hamstrings, I'd be cramping in my hamstrings right now. That is a terrible analogy. This is how much these people are affecting me.
And a lot of people who are born with vulvas identify as a girl. A big part of that is because they're assigned.
No, you know what chroming is, where kids spray deodorant in their mouths to get high for some fucking stupid reason? You would be more intelligent doing that than listening to this lady, called Kyle, spelled K-Y-L. Just the spelling of her name does my fucking head in.
Such.
Isn't that confusing for a little child?
I think it's actually more confusing to make children think that the 8 billion people on the planet all neatly fit into one of 2 boxes?
It's less confusing to say that they fit into 8 billion different genders. Is that what we're trying to get at here? Really?
In this complicated new world, the children are in charge of their own gender reveal. As it turns out, one day Zuma came home from preschool and announced he was a boy.
That's Kyle's son Zuma, which is a shit name. Anyway, he went to preschool or whatever, or daycare, and he realised that he had a dick and balls like all the other boys, came home and said, Mum, I'm a boy, and she went, yay, you've chosen your gender. And she was really proud. But unfortunately for Zuma, in 30 years, he's going to realise that his mum really fucked with him. She didn't need to. He knew he was a boy. He could have just been a boy from the start. If you want to talk about misinformation, that's misinformation. All right? Telling your kid that you're not anything. You're something. You matter. You matter, Zuma.
He was a boy.
So it was right around Zoomer's 4th birthday that he said, I love he, him pronouns.
If you can't see how this potentially damages children, then we are not on the same book, not on the same page. We aren't even in the same library, okay? I think this whole video can be wrapped up in one sentence. Let kids be kids. Fuck you to the moon. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, theys and thems, be a good motherfucker. Peace in the Middle East. Me dick stinks. Toodle-wah-wah. Bye-bye.